in silence here. Good, it lets you concentrate on the road. Are we going?
Yep. We're just moving the cameras a little bit. Hi people, you okay? See, most of you haven't got anything better to do with your lives.
No,
That's the way to treat the people.
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, we're here.
Well, yeah, this is true, isn't it?
It's
Yeah.
not.
Oh, hang on, it's working now. Oh yeah, I can see why you were moving the cameras.
Yep.
Right, should I better volume now? Because remembered where we were going wrong.
Yeah, tell us if that's better. Immediately, I order you.
If they can't tell us, then maybe it's not better.
Yeah, but there's a momentous amount of lag on this.
Ah.
Yeah. I order you now, people, tell me. My hair's looking a bit waffy tonight, isn't it?
What, yours?
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it needs some work.
Yeah. It's all going a little bit mid-80s pop star.
It's alright, since I started going grey, I wake up every morning and look like I've got flipping perm.
Right.
Right, nobody mentioning volume yet, but I think it's only getting to the point where you're saying, do it now.
I need Chris to say do it now.
That's sound.
That sounds.
That's a sound.
That sounds loud. It doesn't sound very good.
It's a bit echoey.
It's a little bit bathroom, isn't it?
Yeah,
It sounds like it's coming from their thing.
I think it is. Do you want to put it back into the
No, it's not.
put it back
Oh,
into
it
put
does
it back
sound
in
very
yeah,
toilety.
put it back into the mixer output because that's not. And now it's it's only coming through one channel, isn't it?
No, it shouldn't.
Oh, that's fine,
I mean, that's all it's ever done is come through one channel.
Oh right, what? Yeah, stick it back into the mixer. At least it's clear that way.
Just see if that gets better. No, move that. Sorry, people. Just check this.
We love technology.
Because this was the way we were doing it in the past. Just sound like ass, doesn't it?
On a scale of 1 to ass, how not
Right.
good is this video?
I wonder if this gets better now. Sorry, everybody. Don't worry, we will edit this out so future victims don't have to watch it.
Apparently settings for Patreon was good.
Right, okay. Well, somebody said it was too quiet, so if you can all murder them, that would be great.
Right, hang on, let me just mute this because I've stopped it so I can't actually see comments.
Alright, I need to find a total shunt.
Yeah,
Alright, I think you've got a few minutes yet before we need that.
It's alright, it's here. I know what I'm doing. I had a couple. I'm going to use that one.
Alright, you're gonna do the usual and give us the questions before you ask them. Oh shit, I'm not going to stop it.
Oh, it's carpool karaoke all over again.
With that hair, that makes you the Bieber.
I'm
Oh god, no, that means I'm James Corden. You don't forget that, right? That never happened.
I'm not being funny. If there was any enjoyment I could take out of that programme, it's the fact that they took away the idea, or even the hope that he could have a car accident while it happened.
Well, it could. I mean, it could all come like unrigged, and then he's not really in control.
But they do it in the car park, they don't they?
Yeah, well, all kinds of shit can happen in a car park.
Yeah, but not like an oil tanker going into him. or
Could do.
something.
Oil tankers got parked.
We saw a car crash in Milton Keynes. That place is one giant car park.
The only thing I want to see in James Corden's eyes is my headlights.
You're not a fan.
No.
I don't know anyone who is. Yeah, America, we're sorry. But it's your problem now.
Yeah, but as we were saying before, we did take Morgan back.
Yeah, we'll still send Madonna back over there.
Oh yeah, keep Madonna. We're not fucking dealing with that. No, fuck. No, not. I'd take 7 Morgans.
Right, I've got this at the right angle. Shall we start doing something?
Let's go.
Right. Hi, and welcome to this week's 3Legs4Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with...
Sean.
Lee.
And no Chris.
Skyver.
Mm.
It looks like only 2 things are recording there.
Oh, it didn't do
Well, you didn't finish your own channel. Tell you what, we're going to scrap that.
That might.
Oh, this is going so well tonight.
That might be why I sounded like I was in a toilet.
No, I thought we all sounded a bit...
Were we all toilet?
Yeah.
God.
Podcast outing to the toilet.
For Lee, see, I'm so selfless that I was too busy worrying about
Everybody else, and not myself.
Either that or you forgot.
Selfless. Right, we ready to go?
Oh, we're going to try this one again.
I
Right.
think so.
Do you want to delete those 2 files you've got there?
Records over.
Now you tell me. Hi, and welcome to this week's 3Legs4Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with...
Sean.
Lee.
And Chrisless.
No, Chris.
He sends his apologies. He's a little bit under the weather tonight, bearing in mind the amount of weather that we've had over here recently. It's no surprise.
Spanish storm flu.
Or something.
Yeah.
Either that or he was completely overwhelmed by the second test last week. I think
Probably not.
he's still in shock from Robert Kubica getting one of the fastest times.
Yeah.
He did well. Fastest of the Alphas, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the C5 tyres, but still.
About an ounce of petrol,
But
probably.
I was looking at the time. Well, let's just say for shits and giggles that the petrol was the same.
Yeah.
When you looked at the times, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that he was quicker than Raikkonen for the tyre ahead of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely fast. Could it actually be that I'm just spitballing here? He is actually still okay.
And Russell's amazing.
George Russell is a godlike genius behind the wheel, and that Williams was even more crap than we thought.
Maybe.
You haven't got to episode 9 of Drive to Survive yet.
No.
Oh, that's frosty.
That is the Williams one. As I think it was Cornish Dazzler sent us on Twitter, the quote of the series, Paddy Lowe: building a Formula 1 car these days is difficult and complicated. It's never been easy.
No, it's true. I'm looking forward to that episode.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it too much, but yeah, car crash in every definition.
Well, he wasn't going fast enough to crash. That was the issue.
Looks better this year though for them.
Yeah.
It does. They had a pretty good test.
I think
So,
they're the
second
second
week.
slowest car.
Huh?
I think they're the second slowest car
Which
this
is
year.
much better than they were
Yeah.
this time.
That's one more than they were last year, but it just carries on Haas's tradition of going gradually backwards.
My bold prediction of I've got a couple of bold predictions for Australia, and my first one is George Russell scores a point.
I would like to
Ooh.
see George Russell score a point. I think he deserved a point more than Kubica deserved a point last year, so yes,
If it hadn't been
yes
for
to that.
If it hadn't been for a Duff pit stop, he would have got a point in Germany, as we've been saying since Germany. I brought my microphone again.
Second bold prediction is Checo Perez is going to win the race.
Oh, that's not bold. Everyone's saying that.
Yeah, but they don't mean it.
Will
I mean
Buxton has been saying that like all 3 days of testing last
I'm
week.
sticking 5 on Perez to win the championship.
Oh, that's bold.
That is bold. What? Any idea on the odds? Am I doing some quick googling?
500 to 1 for Perez with 1,000 to 1 for Stroll.
Is that for the championship or
Yes,
for Australia?
for championship.
So you've looked this up already.
Both worth my money.
Stroll, I think that would probably be a fiver you will not see again.
No, but £2.50.
Oh, £2.50.
It's a cup of coffee. I'll throw a cup of coffee at Stroll any day of the week.
Right, let's hang on. Let's have a look. Formula 1 betting. Formula 1 2020 season, Drivers' Championship.
All the betting sites are available, but just not on Paul's phone.
Well, no, because it kept trying to get me to sign up even though I've got an account. Perez 250 to 1 at the minute.
I thought it was something around there. Yeah. It's worth a fiver.
And 150 to 1 if you don't count whatever Lewis Hamilton does.
I've got a theory behind it. Theory behind it. Because Ferrari fucked it. Yeah. There was already a story out saying how slow their engine is.
Yeah.
So we discount Ferrari. Red Bull seems to be quick until it tries to go around a corner and then it throws itself off. So they're going to have issues. Then let's just say you have a on for Bottas that can hassle Lewis Hamilton, so they start having a little knock together. Perez has every opportunity to be this season's Kimi Raikkonen.
Interesting.
Winning it because everybody else lost it.
Yeah.
Could happen.
It's not beyond the realms of bloody stupid. But I mean, the pink Mercedes really does look impressive.
Yeah.
Was that a quick car?
Well, yeah, the Mercedes W10.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, we've seen this before. Like, let's not forget how similar the Toro Rosso was to the Mercedes for 1 year, and the Toro Rosso was shite. So just aero, for instance, does not a Formula One car make. You know, you can't make a car the same sort of shape as a car.
True.
And Haas, even when Haas were good, they were still further away from Ferrari than what Racing Point appeared to be to Mercedes. So Racing Point have just done the best job of this off-the-shelf part buying.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know yet how many bits of the Mercedes are actually on that Racing Point or in it.
Well, we know it'll be the engine. We know
Definitely.
it'll be all the sort of like
Gearboxes,
suspension-y neck of the woods. It'll be
No, suspension's different
the
because
suspension different.
the
Excuse me.
the rear suspension on the Merc,
Mm.
they're the only ones that are running this back slung.
Because that goes into the
suspension.
gearbox, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so there'll be
yeah.
a certain amount of overlap there. Electronics will probably be Mercedes. So there'll be quite a lot. If they've
Mhm.
copied the Aero as well, that's largely a Mercedes.
But yeah, I was just about to try and bring some times up details from the second test. So we'll start at the back.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that is going to have to be Haas
Yeah.
because they did look like the slowest car. Friday was just a complete waste for them. Kevin Magnussen had a clutch problem Friday afternoon. I think he only managed something like 29 laps, and 15 of those were in the last hour.
I think this is the bigger worry for Haas. It's not the lack of pace, it's that they've had so many problems. They haven't actually had a lot of track time.
Yeah.
So if that car doesn't work, they don't really know yet, which is what they spent most of last season doing.
Yeah, is it going to be another season? I mean, I stuck a Twitter poll up at the weekend, and you know, a Haas done in F1 at the end of this season. And opinions were split. I think it was 51-49% saying, yeah, they're finished.
I personally don't think they will be. I think new regs favour them, well, their style of team quite a lot.
If Dallara have got their heads around the new formula.
This is also true.
Yeah, because they're going to have to get Dallara effectively starting work on the car now.
Yeah,
And from scratch, you know, it's not like it can be an evolution of what they've been doing. They have to build a brand new car. But as someone else pointed out, I think it might be Albert, like Dallara make these ground effect cars for Indy, so it's not like it's not like they're strangers to it.
Yeah, so they're going to have to take what they know from Indy, especially the ovals, and actually put it into a Formula One concept. I mean, Indy cars can follow a lot better than F1 cars.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen that on ovals and on street circuits, because you do get some aero benefit from following as well, which it will be great to see in F1. Now, if Dallara can do that, that's great. But whoever has contracted the aero out to, they've got to come up with new concepts as well.
I still are make a slow car that's unfortunately really easy to follow. Cheers, guys.
And then you won't be following it for very long. But even things like salary cap and spend cap, that when you've got another motorsports arm like the Haas kind of overlord has, there can be ways then to take technology from somewhere else and
Yeah.
offset the cost. So it could really favour Haas if they actually can stick it out for another year.
Yeah, I mean, now that sucking the car to the ground and not having dirty air behind it is what Formula One's going to be about, that is effectively how NASCAR works.
Yeah.
Because the amount of drafting that you get in NASCAR.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know. Before anyone says anything, ovals are a completely different beast to road circuits. But you know, you've got a car that just clamps on behind somebody else and gets sucked along by it.
Yeah.
God, that sounds wrong. You know, that's
Dog locked.
that's what's won Haas races and championships.
Yeah.
And if they can apply that to F1 and still come in under the budget cap, because it's a NASCAR development, it just happens to fit on this car
Yeah,
as well.
you then would only have to pay for the amount of time it takes you to adapt it to F1. You wouldn't have to pay for all the research and development that's gone in beforehand.
Do both drivers drive next year?
Ooh. I mean, we've been saying no forever, haven't we?
Yeah.
So
Well,
probably,
Gunther
because what else are you
Steiner
doing?
seems to really, really like Roman Grosjean.
It's because he didn't fucking smash his door.
Well, maybe that's
Fuck,
it.
fuck
Fuck
smash.
smash.
Fuck smash.
But even before his door did get fuck smashed, the interactions between Steiner and Roman, they seem very friendly, and I think that might have helped his career, maybe on more than one occasion.
I mean, the joke has been going around again, certainly since Drive to Survive dropped on Friday. The three most talented people in Formula One:
I love it.
Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, Roman Grosjean's manager.
The man
Sebastian
who earned
Vettel,
his
that's it.
10%.
People aren't going to be happy you stuck Sebastian Vettel in that list.
Well, no, you're not. I should have said Charles Leclerc.
No, I do love Charlotte. I love all Vettels.
Hey, I'm only quoting the joke. But yeah, Haas just they struggled with the car. I mean, the speed. It's the usual Haas problem. The speed was there for a lap, and then you expect it to do a second lap, and it's like, oh god, now. And I don't know. I think, let's put it this way: the Haas episode of next season's Drive to Survive, if they are going to do another series, which
We
based on the
could do a
previous two.
whole series just on Haas.
Yeah, Amazon, if you're listening,
Just
si-
Haas.
sign up. Hashtag sign up Steiner.
Yeah. Being with the Hastashians.
Well, it wouldn't be keeping up because everyone can keep up with.
Yeah. But I suppose if you've got a slow Ferrari engine as well and they're having issues, none of that's going to help.
Yeah.
No, I mean Ferrari. Twitter was awash with rumours about how much Ferrari had turned the engine down. I think the general consensus was it's only running at 80%.
That's still an issue though,
Yeah.
because everyone else will have been probably running at about 80%.
That's the
testing
thing.
quantity.
Right, and some people aren't going to be happy with this, but I am so excited at the prospect of Ferrari having a bad season. My nipples are hard. Like I am.
That's the bit that's going to upset people.
I'm so excited at the prospect of.
Terrifying me. I'm sat next to him. If he turns around, he'll have me eye out.
It's okay, they're little small ones. I'm
What, my eyes?
salivating at the idea of Charles Leclerc having a fucking breakdown every race because Ferrari haven't got it together.
This is assuming
Don't look at
anyone.
the YouTube comments. Don't look at the YouTube comments.
But yeah, this is assuming anyone actually lets a team from Italy into their country.
This is true.
Because this is
Yeah.
what MotoGP is having issues with.
I'm wondering how many races we're going to lose. Definitely.
Well, the Australian Grand Prix promoters put out a statement last night saying it's definitely going ahead.
Yeah, Australia will be fine.
I think
Well, no, he said as far as they're concerned, it's going ahead.
Yeah.
There was some pointed language in that statement.
but the problem is it's getting to Australia that's the issue, because you
Yeah.
can't go there directly.
Yeah, you usually stop in like UAE or Singapore or Beijing or
Anywhere,
somewhere with
anywhere where people are
coronavirus.
getting quarantined, or I mean, this is why the Qatar MotoGP has been the saying postponed.
no.
For the
Qatar is cancelled.
Oh, right.
Thailand.
Oh, is it
is
Thailand
postponed.
postponed? Right. But this is why MotoGP, the class, not the whole series, because Moto
Yeah.
2 and 3 are still racing. But this is why they're not racing in Qatar, is that Qatar have now said anyone coming from Italy has to go into an immediate 14-day quarantine.
Yeah.
Yeah, whereas Moto 2 and Moto 3 are already there, so it's like, well,
Yeah,
fucked anyway.
yeah,
Might as well have a race.
they've been testing, they've not left the country.
Well, this links nicely to something Martin Brundle said during the final test,
Mm.
where Crofty was talking about various things that Lewis Hamilton may or may not do. And he said to Martin, he said, well, what do you think? He said, well, I'm more concerned if we're even going to have a championship, and if we do have a championship, how many races we're going to have in it. And then he dropped, which I'm almost convinced he wasn't supposed to, if there's at least one race that's being talked about to do behind closed doors, I would say Vietnam,
Interesting.
because I think it's important for Vietnam to have their first race. And I wonder if that's on the because I remember a certain like Formula One genius and fellow member of this podcast that sat in my chair right now saying this last week, that they would race races behind closed doors just for television.
I can see it happening. I mean, it's Vietnam would be a tricky one to do because it's a street circuit.
Mm.
So what's to stop everyone with a property overlooking the course sticking it on Airbnb and charging like $7,000 an hour to rent it?
Contained then, aren't
Yeah,
you?
you see,
Yeah, I guess.
but then it depends what the travel restraints would be.
Yeah.
You could
Singapore.
lock that down.
Singapore could be another one exactly like this because they've had a lot of coronavirus issues.
Yeah.
Again, because it's all street circuit. If you don't have grandstands, you would still have people watching the race,
Mm-hmm.
but they're all sort of within their own hotel rooms and
Yeah.
balconies and whatnot. They're not going about
But
breathing
the
on
problem's
people.
airports, isn't it? This is where
Yeah.
the real issue is.
That is the main problem.
Going to talk about China later on in the year, how they postponed China, didn't cancel it.
Mhm.
I could see them running China closed doors like later on in the season if they can get whatever's going on under control. Which, I mean, realistically, although it seems to have slowed down in China,
Yeah.
you do get the feeling that we're not quite at the peak before it starts to drift away. I think
Yeah.
it's going to be worse before it starts to get better.
China has slowed, so it's now there are more new cases outside of China than there are inside China, but the new cases outside of China are still climbing.
Yeah.
So overall, it's still on the up at the moment.
No.
I think the whole problem with this, and it's if it would have come from anywhere else but China, you could trust the numbers that came out more. That's the whole reason
Possible.
everybody's worried about this more is because you can't.
Historically, there've been a few issues there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even the I watched an interview this afternoon. I know this isn't quite Formula One, but it's all kind
It's
of
linked.
related.
It is linked.
There was the British guy that caught it that lives in Wuhan that caught it and recovered from it.
Mm.
He caught it in November, and it's only like retroactively looking back at his symptoms and what he went through. So it just goes to show how long this was kicking around
Yeah.
for before it started to break the news.
Yeah, it is a worry. I mean, I think we're not going to have 22 races this season.
No.
No,
I just can't see that happening at all.
I just wonder what it would do to Formula One if Formula One had to cancel the season now.
Yeah.
Second World War, is that when the last time Grand Prix racing would have stopped?
Grand Prix racing.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. 'Cause
Yeah. And you're talking about gentlemen racers back then, you know, it's just keeping their cars in their manor houses. When you look at the factories, the personnel they've all got in the factories, just the machine Formula One is,
Mhm.
what happens to that if the revenue stream stops for a year?
for someone like a Williams or a Haas or a Toro Rosso,
You're
someone who's on
dead.
a smaller budget, no,
Yeah.
you can't just keep paying people for a year and
E-
not fulfil what
Even
the
Mercedes
sponsorship
is, you know,
needs.
if Mercedes are looking at Formula One and thinking whether it's still financially viable to do it, surely like having a whole year out is going to make them reconsider this even more.
I think Mercedes could probably be slightly more.
They could
bigger
float.
picture,
They
longer
could
term.
float it,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's whether they want to float it.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be tough for a lot of teams. I mean certainly Williams because
Racing Point as well. I know they've got Daddy Stroll money in there now, but
you don't
They've had
become
such
a
financial
billionaire
ruins.
by
yeah,
keeping on paying people who aren't able to work.
yeah, and they obviously haven't got what you call a lot of money in the bank of their own, you know, because of the issues they've had over the years.
Yeah,
Red Bull, for instance, Red Bull would have to foot 2 teams.
and 90,000 young drivers.
But they've sold all their AlphaTauri t-shirts though, so they're like
Yeah,
they're
it's-
rich in money.
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, one T-shirt will
Yeah.
pay for someone on the young driver program for 6 months.
Do you know once a year they send Lenny Henry to see the young drivers and like feed them and stuff, do some sort of telethon to help them out.
They're all there wearing Sebastian Vettel World Champion T-shirts from the last 3 years.
Give a potential Formula One a test, and he'll drive for an hour. But teach him to drive a road car, and he can be in saloon racing forever.
So I mean, the races that we're looking at losing at the moment. Let's assume that Australia happens.
Yeah.
Bahrain is
Iffy.
looking doubtful.
Yeah, they've got locusts as well.
Yeah, if anyone's seen a tweet that popped up earlier, the plague of locusts.
Bahrain is one they could do to a closed crowd because they've done it before.
But again, it's getting people in, isn't it?
They didn't do it behind closed doors. They just cancelled it.
No, they did it behind. There's one they did behind closed doors because there was riots outside, if you remember, and everyone flew into the circuit.
I do not recall this at all.
It's one of the reasons, because of the civil unrest that was going on at the time. That's why they started doing it as a night race. It was because they didn't
It was
want.
when it came back after it had been off the calendar for a couple of years.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
It's a night race.
But I'm sure they did one behind closed doors because of civil unrest.
I do not recall that,
I'm
but it
gonna
might just be
look
that
this
I
up.
purged it from my mind.
I know the reason they did it as a night race because they didn't want you to see what was going on outside of the circuit.
Oh, okay.
So I know that's true. Maybe I'm wrong about the closed doors thing.
Yeah, the closed door thing is not
So-
not ringing any bells.
No, I can't. No, can't say anything about it because there was 1 year where it got pulled from the calendar because it was going to be the
Yeah.
season opener.
Was it?
Yeah, they'd made a deal with
'Cause
Australia.
They had the year that it was the season opener when they were on the endurance circuit, the year that Alonso won it, and it was like the dullest race on the planet because that circuit does not work with the
No.
endurance circuit.
Yeah.
Shit.
I'm thinking it may have been the year after that
I think that would be about right for.
because it was going to be
Yeah.
season opener again to make up for having a crap race on a bad circuit the year before, and then it got pulled, and Australia got the season opener without having to pay season opener money. But yeah, I think Bahrain's looking iffy. Vietnam, the behind closed doors thing, yeah, but like you say, at the airports,
Yeah.
we could end up with no racing between Australia and Zandvoort.
And by that time, the virus could have really took a hold in Europe.
Which again is another problem.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. It's one of those things. I keep saying it. You can't really get a gauge for how serious it is, and I think that's the issue. I think that's what's causing the sort of internet fear mongering and stuff like that as well.
I mean, one thing that we do know is F1 are going to have to make a decision pretty quickly because teams will be starting to ship out to Australia within the next few days.
Yeah.
Because it's not a case of just get there, turn up and race. You've really got to acclimatise because you're looking at a 10-hour time difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Melbourne, it's
You've
plus
also you've got to think about the teams sending their people out as well.
Yeah.
Sending their people through airports and through planes. I mean,
this is one thing Bonotto said, that, yeah, it's alright, Australia may not have too serious a problem at the moment, but doesn't want to send his people through areas that do.
Yeah. I can't help but think the Ferrari and AlphaTauri are kind of making more noise about this because they're kind of the ones that are in.
They're the ones who could be
In the
refused
trouble,
entry
yeah.
into somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because they brought up that he said, oh well, we supply people for Haas and for he actually called it Sauber,
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
or Alpha Sauber he called it.
Not
Okay.
all an
Which
alpha.
yeah. So I don't know.
The
what-
artist formerly known as BMW.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many staff they supply. Could the teams run without the Ferrari staff?
Doubtful because how many people does it take to look after an engine? I'm thinking
Yeah.
it's a good sort of 5 or 10
Well, I'm
at
thinking.
least.
I'm thinking more. Well, yeah, but would all Ferrari staff can't live in Italy? Do you know what I mean? They can't all live there. So I can't help but think that he's brought those names in because there's Ferrari and AlphaTauri which are in real trouble, and Ferrari have sort of drafted in the 2 satellite Ferrari teams to sort of pull rank with
So
them.
they're thinking that there's four
Yeah.
teams saying, oh, this is,
Well, I think Ferrari are angling to cancel the race if they can't race. That's what they're after.
The other issue is the company that makes the majority of brakes.
Brembo.
on the cars. No, Magenti Morelli.
don't know them, I only
I don't
know
know that. Brembo and Carbon Industries, then, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Brembo are Italian based, but I'm sure they're a brake manufacturer, but they're Italian as well. You see them on the front on somewhere on most cars.
Carbon Industries is such a fucking cool name.
It is, it does what it says.
So does that mean Haas are going to change their name to fuck, not again?
Fuck Smash. Fuck Smash Racing.
I would buy that game on the PlayStation.
You probably could in 1992.
But yeah, it's the
Magnet Morelli are spark plugs.
which kind
For,
of
slightly out of date list for Force India and Sauber.
they're on the front of the Ferrari, so I'm pretty sure they supply them as well.
It's funny, you don't think of things like Formula One cars having spark plugs, do you? it's like someone going out of the race because there's something wrong with their sump.
Just press the button to restart it. It's next to the cigarette lighter.
It is founded by Fiat. So presumably it's part of
The Ferrari
that
group.
whole big family.
Yeah. So in that case, that's going to be 4 cars with their bits on. So it's the extra suppliers that
Oh, hang on, it's been bought out by KKR. I'm on a bit of a deep dive here on Wikipedia. It's taking me to weird places.
KKR seems like the
Not
wrong
the Korean
choice.
Republic.
No, it seems like the wrong choice to have because that logo can be easily changed to something else.
This is a New York.
Just with another line.
Right, so they're now American owned, but I think still Italian based.
Right.
Headquarters in Corbetta in Italy. This is, I'm sure.
To be fair, this
fascinating.
isn't really
If you're
important.
well into your spark
the
plugs.
team side.
Oh
is
shit,
important.
that is North Italy.
Is it?
That is right in the exciting zone.
so far North Italy. It's on the German
It's
border
pretty
apparently.
It's pretty much Switzerland.
Oh
Right.
god. So yeah, you're looking at things like that, and it's a case of they can't get out of the country. How what the hell
No
are they going
spark.
to do? And we are looking at a seriously cut down season. From a selfish point of view, what the hell are we going to talk about?
Virus updates.
I've been doing that at work all day. Oh, hang on, wrong virus.
Yeah, I don't know. It's such a strange position for Formula One to be in. I mean, we've had like financial crises. We've had like fucking Splinter Series worries in the past. Never like pandemic worries.
There's a very weird noise going on in the
I
background.
think that might be the cruise ship.
Yes, we've got a cruise ship in Douglas Harbour at the moment. I don't know if the mics are picking it up, but I
See-
think it's
See, that's not ideal either.
It's like Monaco.
Yeah.
In fairness, it did look cool with all the
Oh.
lights on earlier.
Unless this is how the horror film starts, and that siren was like the last lone person that can't quite drive the boat because he's been attacked by the SARS zombies, and it's going to crash into the docks now.
Right.
So if you hear scrambles,
Mm.
we're all fucked. Smash.
I feel we've wandered away from.
We've kind of taken a little bit of a diversion, kind of a Grosjean style diversion through the gravel.
See, with no Formula One, every podcast is going to be a patron podcast.
It probably bloody is, isn't it? Going back to testing, so Haas had troubles. Williams
Yes.
next. Now they looked a lot better than last year.
Mm.
Through both sessions as well. They were all right. They weren't matching the pace of all the midfield, but there were some solid laps. There were some long runs. There was the only technical cock up that they had was with the Mercedes engine.
Did Latifi do an actual crash?
Not this
He
week.
might have spun.
I thought he
but
spun.
his main issue was he had an engine that.
But he broke
started some
back the
stuff.
car, didn't he? I thought he spun and hit the barrier.
Um,
Not hard, but.
I didn't
Don't
see
think so. I mean, there was
masses.
a lot of spins in the morning because I think a lot of the teams underestimated the track temperature.
It was windy as well.
I think
There was a lot of
The
wind.
thing was, I don't think there wasn't a lot of spins, but there was a lot of spins from certain teams, which I thought was interesting. Red Bull being.
Red Bull were very,
One
very
example.
spinny.
We'll talk about Red Bull in a bit. Sorry, carry on.
But yeah, Williams, this actually looks like a bit of a recovery for them. And I think you're right, there might be another chance of getting in the bottom end of the points this year.
Hope so.
You know, the car, it's meant to be an evolution of last year's, and they've said they're buying a lot of the problems out. Latifi said that there's still a couple of issues hanging over from last year's car because he did get to drive the 2019 car in a couple of tests.
I think he did a couple of Friday sessions as well. didn't
Yeah.
he?
Apparently we're still quiet, oh well.
But your phone is on
But
loud,
my
apparently.
phone isn't, which is very strange because it's meant to be. But yeah, the car does drive a lot better than last year's. George Russell was coming across as, the only way to describe it is cagily cautious about it being good.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting because if Alpha's who is ahead of them, which I think that's who it's going to be, they have like shaky seasons, don't they, Alpha? You know, so.
Last year they would have sort of a couple of races, anonymous couple of races.
Giovinazzi
Yeah.
took a while to find his feet,
Yeah.
and Kimi occasionally was well off it.
Yeah, sometimes he'd be sort of right on the back of the top three,
Mm.
and there'd be other times where he was sort of 15th, 16th, not really doing much.
I hope that at least they've got a platform like that they can develop on. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I mean, as we found out from Drive to Survive, you know, making an F1 car is very complicated.
Because they did realistically, like development-wise, when you see how bad they were at the beginning of the season, but it's not like they clawed themselves back onto the end of the field. But from where they were, they did get quite a lot of time up. Because if they hadn't developed the car, imagine how bad they would have been by halfway through the season.
I mean, they started off somewhere like 3 seconds a lap down.
Yeah.
And by the end of the season, they were about 1.5 seconds down.
Yeah, and they were finishing on the lead lap sometimes, weren't they?
Yeah, even without shenanigans.
Yeah.
So building on that, then I think they can. We'll actually see Williams overtakes this year.
I hope so, and not on just Williams.
Yeah, battling with different cars rather than themselves. And I think there's going to be more than a few Q2s for those cars. I think Latifi probably take the piss out of him. He's there on his dad's money, and he's only driving a Williams because he couldn't get into a McLaren even though his dad owns a sizable percentage of the
He
team.
was fairly handy in F2 though.
He's not a bad driver.
Yeah.
I think he's more comparable to Russell than Kubica from what we've seen.
I still expect Russell to hand him his own
Yeah,
arms back
Yeah,
to him.
I think Russell will still be sort of very comfortably, but I think Latifi will be a little bit closer.
Yeah,
It'll be good
maybe.
for them generally as a team. I think
Yeah,
to have two strong sets of data to work off.
Yeah, rather than the car's crap.
Mm.
If you haven't watched Drive to Survive yet, the Williams episode is episode 9. It's harrowing. No spoilers, it's just harrowing. You see people losing their shit that you didn't think it was physically possible for them to lose their shit.
It's the bit in the garage before they go, well, not in the garage, in the factory before they go to Barcelona, where Claire Williams sort of visits the factory floor, and that is just, oh good lord.
Just watch it. Just
It
watch
is-
it.
it
That's
is
it.
Did anybody
worrying.
think Christian Horner was is unbelievably cringy in the
Yes.
Red Bull episode? He has definitely walked up to Max Verstappen and Pierre Gasly wants to go "Hey, fellow kids."
He is turning into that teacher that you all had at school that wants to be one of the cool kids.
Yeah, and he's almost certainly used the phrase "I'm going out to crush pussy." Almost certainly has he said that.
I don't think he's gone full bro yet. You know, on the Rob Gronkowski scale, he only registers about a 3. Rob Gronkowski being about several million.
There is a definite sense of I'm married to a Spice Girl, don't you know, in that episode. my wife, my pop star wife.
What's up next? I would probably say Alpha was next.
Yes,
Alfa Romeo, not Alpha Tauri.
Mm.
some alpha.
Yeah, one of the Alphas. Christ, this is gonna get confusing. The red and white Alpha, not the grey and white Alpha.
Blue and white, isn't it?
Colourblind.
Blue and white future reference.
Oh, right, thank you.
Yeah, it is more blue. I think there's a little bit of red on it somewhere.
Anyway, the red and white
Yes.
one. The one that isn't snakeskin.
Yeah.
Because that's the coolest livery that they've had.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of them, because it was a bit anonymous soundbird.
Giovinazzi looked shit.
I think as well the added sort of inclusion of Kubica has just thrown any sense of being able to judge what the fuck they're doing, because
I'm kind of at ease with what Kimmy's given. I think when it comes
it's
to
Kimmy, isn't
actually,
it? He's done a lot of testing.
Yeah.
He knows he personally doesn't need to be tuning it up too much.
yeah. So I'm sure Kimmy will be fine, and he'll get probably 80% of what that car can do every time he gets into it, type thing. But yeah, Giovinazzi, when he wasn't slow, he crashed, didn't he? Had a really, really good one where he took the back end of his car off, and then he drove off down the road, and then the rear wing fell off with it, and it caused a red flag. That was-
This rings a vague
Yeah.
bell
Yeah.
that you mentioned it.
I didn't think Giovinazzi deserved to keep a seat last year, and he hasn't done.
But Ferrari don't have anyone else at the
That's
moment.
the thing. I think in the absence of anyone else for the Ferrari seat, I don't think he.
The two sweetest words in
Yeah.
the English language: default.
That's the thing. I think he didn't do anything that was like, no, we really cannot keep him in the car.
I think he's under pressure from Robert Kubica.
And
Because
his money.
his money, maybe like we said last week, his Ferrari correct connections, which never came to fruition, and the fact if they just threw him in a car to get a feel for the car for when he's doing sim work, I think he'd have just had one go on the first test. I can't see why they'd give him 2 days in the car if there wasn't more behind, checking him out and not just checking the car out.
Yeah, I think, and I've just seen a comment on YouTube as well. It's got a feeling of waiting in the wings about it.
Mm.
Now he's driven the car for 2.5 days. You know, the shakedown car and the alright, this is what we're starting the season with car, because the two tests are two completely separate beasts. And he's proved what he can get out of it. And yeah, Giovinazzi could be on thin ice.
It's interesting, fucking Kubica might shut me right up if he gets back in the team and does well.
and I will be so happy to live stream that.
Yeah, no, hey, I'll be happy to be wrong. To be perfectly honest, I don't want anyone to struggle, apart from Ferrari and Charles Leclerc.
And Lance Stroll.
No, not even Lance Stroll. I want Lance Stroll to be better. Yeah, it's interesting, and I don't like I said. I don't think Giovinazzi deserves to be there. And I think we discussed this last week, didn't I? Where I said it's a toss up for me between Giovinazzi and Stroll. Which one is the worst driver in Formula One? And I think it might be Giovinazzi.
If by the summer break, I mean the cut down on testing. This
What,
year
after Australia?
Yeah. I mean, testing's been cut back this year, so there's no post Bahrain and no post Spanish Grand Prix test.
So there's going to be no Bahrain.
True. But the next scheduled test, I think, is the 2 days after Hungaroring. That's still on the list as far as I know. If we
You're going to get points for the test. Where you think it's going?
If we see Kubica back in the car after Hungary, I think we could see him in the car in Belgium, and not just on a Friday morning.
Maybe.
And maybe the occasional cock up from Giovinazzi in the first half of the season. Kubica gets the occasional FP1.
Here's a thought. We've got a shaved down season. That means results matter even more. I think that means you will find teams being even more ruthless than they would normally be, especially the Red Bull lot. Because if all of a sudden, if you've got an underperforming driver and your 20 race season is shrunk down to 10, you can't afford to go, oh well, maybe you're alright in 5 races, because you need the other car where the other car is.
You might well have a point. You know, this all of a sudden when one race goes from less than 5% of the points available during the season to over 10%, or around 10%, 10% or even more if it gets cut down to less than 10 races. Yeah, they're going to want results quick because there's less races. The gaps to make up are going to be even smaller. But if you've got a binary team where you've got one driver putting the results in and the other one being a bit of a laggard, then yeah, they are going to have to make changes quick. And I think, are we going to get another season where the 20 drivers that start the season aren't going to be the 20 drivers that finish?
Absolutely. Someone won't finish this season.
And I think it could be Giovinazzi.
Giovinazzi, I mean, there's
Someone from
Toro
Toro
Rosso probably won't finish the season. I see that was we haven't really got there yet, but it's kind of on point with what we're doing. Albon was absent in that test, and I worry for him. Unless they were running 2 completely different programs, if he was running the same programs as Max, and Max was first and second, and he was like 15th, then that says to me that maybe this car doesn't suit him, and I think that might be an issue for him.
They definitely did something different with Max on the last day, didn't they? 'Cause they were doing like super soft.
All the way through.
C4s.
C4s.
All the way through testing, Albon wasn't putting that car where a Red Bull should have been.
Oh, I thought he was quite near the sharp end on the Friday, but I can't actually.
No, I think he was all right. He was all right on the Friday. I mean, Max on the Friday, there was a hell of a lot of sandbagging going on because
He ended with like the 16th fastest time. I'm sure if you look at that, he was in the lower half. He was the first of the guys that you think should be higher up. I'm sure of it.
Let's have a look.
To believe you, but
I mean, Red Bull would do. We'll get to Red Bull in a bit,
Yeah.
because there was sandbagging going on. But I think it's Toro Rosso / AlphaTauri next
yeah.
on the list. Looks all right.
Does it? I couldn't tell you a single thing about them actually from testing. They were they just didn't catch my eye.
They were comfortably midfield, which, got to be honest, you'd kind of expect.
They kind of always look better in testing than they actually are, though, don't they?
Yeah, they had a couple of years ago, didn't they, when they first got the Honda engine, and McLaren had all the shit for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden they come out and they're doing quite reasonable times, they weren't breaking down.
And that year,
And then it actually gets to a race, and it's like, oh, hang on. what's
yeah,
this?
and that year as well, we even wondered whether they could be a sort of podium type car, didn't they, at the time?
They were definitely going to be like solid points.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm just looking for.
I'm trying to find like
Just
an
looking-
overall test times, and no one seems to have
No,
the
it's
full.
it's
There is
really
one on
tricky.
Autosport.
They've got day 3 of test 2, but I was hoping
No,
they would have like
it's
a
on that
full-
side. They've got a full roundup. It might be the one which says Bottas finishes. I can't remember. I was looking at it yesterday.
Bottas finishes a cake.
Finishes a bowl of porridge, surely. Hang on, let's have a look. Bottas top teams play weird testing games.
Yeah, let's have a look at it. I found it yesterday.
I'm passing you my brand new tablet. Don't break it.
I'm trying not to smash it. Too
Yeah, I
badly.
was very intermittent with my watching of testing, so I think I've got a slightly skewy
But
sense of.
yeah, Alfa Tori Rosso.
Mm.
We're gonna have fun with that this year, aren't we?
Yeah.
They looked comfortably midfield, and I think there's quite a bit of potential in that. I mean, don't forget they've now got I don't know how it's possible, but stronger ties with Red Bull technology. So does that mean they were putting non-Red Bull parts on the car for the last few years?
Well,
Maybe.
2 years ago they would have been Honda powered when Red Bull were not, so.
You found the Friday times, but
Yeah, there's one with all of them.
this is the amount of research that we do before a show. I think they're in danger of keeping the same lineup all the way through the season, which it's a it's a very Red Bull
Overall times for the whole thing. Alex Albon finished 19th to 17.5.
Yeah, I think he was definitely running a different program.
Yeah.
No, but over the whole test though, the Red Bull down there, that worries me for him.
I don't know. I'm not too concerned for him at this point, I think. I'm fully prepared to think they would just use him for long runs and.
I hope so. I just worry that maybe his style might be completely different to Max, and if they've gone to the max with the new car, then
So does that mean that Lando's in trouble because he was slower?
yeah, no. I mean, Milan had troubles as well, didn't he? He had troubles over the course of the test. I think he lost basically one of his afternoons.
I definitely remember Albon losing time at one point as well. So.
But I mean, I worry for Norris as well if Norris doesn't get on top of science, especially with the possibility of a rogue Ricardo around like at the end of next year.
Yes.
I mean, looking at the number of laps that was done, Albon only did the 14th most laps, whereas Max did 414, Albon did 366. I'm thinking different programs.
Albon did say as well he thinks this is easier to drive than last year's, but that might just be general commentary.
That could be corporate speak. But anyway, going back to the Tori.
Toratori, I like that. Yeah,
Tori. Is that what they're going to be now?
Sounds like some
Tory
sort of
Rosso.
80s singer.
Yeah, I think they looked comfortably midfield. The standard thing with Toro Rosso is, over the previous few years, you see them in testing and they're just sort of there or thereabouts. They're not making waves, times wise, distance wise, reliability wise. There's nothing to shout about. And then the car always goes one way or the other. It always gets slightly better or slightly worse.
I feel it always seems to be a bit slower come race times.
I think they start quite. I want to say they're a slow starter. Toro Rosso.
As soon as Red Bull put an upgrade on, then Toro Rosso get the old part and they put it on their car. So they're like one level of upgrade behind Red Bull. I am making this up.
Yeah, I don't think they're
Not
going to
flame
hassle. I don't think they're going to hassle the McLarens and the Renaults.
Well, it's Renault next, because it was kind of a hybrid car that they were running. It was bits of last year's car and bits of this year's car.
Because they had issues. There was one day they still have not adapted that car for the height of Ocon. He lost time because they couldn't physically get him in the car.
Oh right, wow.
And yeah, so that says to me that was more of last year's car on the track at that point. Because for the 2020 car, they knew who the driver was going to be.
Yeah.
And they had Danny Rick had quite a lot of problems in the first week. Things just weren't working. He'd go out, he'd do a lap, and then you wouldn't see him again for another half hour. And I think the sort of lack of reliability carried on a little bit into the second week. I just want to have a look at the amount of laps. 743 laps in total for the team, which when Mercedes did 903.
Yeah, and I can't help feeling that one run that stuck Ricardo in. Was it third?
It was third on one of the days, but his best time overall was 13th.
Ricardo?
Oh no, sorry, I'm looking at distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, he was third. That was on the Mega Ultra Kitten Soft.
And he said he thought he only had a tenth left in him, so it was obviously a qualifying run that he was doing. So that to me, especially the fact that he did it on the last day, feels it was a Renault glory run to try and deflect from
just to try and make us look good.
And don't forget that even when it came to the launch, wasn't it? Because they did like a
virtual launch with teaser hints of a rendering of the car.
And then when Cyril Abiteboul was asked why they didn't have a car, he said, "Well, it's impossible for us to have a car ready now." He said, "Well, lots of other teams have cars."
Yeah, you're kind of meant to be driving it in about 4 days.
I can't make my mind whether Renault are in a load of trouble and we just can't see it yet.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what turns up on the track in Australia.
Yeah, because it will look different.
Let's just say we're assuming the Australian Grand Prix is going to go ahead.
Yeah.
We know anyway that this Renault is going to look very different because we know they've been using a testing livery. So they could change a lot on that car, and it wouldn't necessarily take us. It would take us probably a couple of practice sessions to figure out exactly what they've done.
Yeah, but
which is fun.
Are they going back to the late 90s, early 90s thing where, let's run last year's car for the first few races and then we'll debut the new car in Spain or Holland or...
Maybe.
Late 90s, early 90s, I seem to recall there was a McLaren called the MCL whatever A a couple of years ago, and then a B suddenly turned up as
There was definitely a Force India B as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think McLaren... I can't remember what year it was. It was either... 2001 or 2002, where they had to run last year's car because that year's car failed the crash test, was 30 miles an hour down at top speed on everything else, and didn't like turning corners.
Are we talking about Lance Stroll?
2001.
Yeah, it was that one season where he was a transformer.
Yeah.
And then they just ended up scrapping it, ran the previous season's car all the way through the year, and then debuted the car the following year, which was an evolution of what was meant to be the year before's car that worked.
Absolute team suicide of B-Spec car this year. Team suicide, because if you're busy working on a B-Spec car, that means you're not busy working on 2021's car.
This is why I think that what we're going to see for the Renault is we haven't had the A-Spec car. We've got the half spec.
But what's the point? What's the point bringing a? I mean, unless they are in real trouble, because that means you're going to turn up to Australia with an untested car.
Well, we think they're in trouble anyway, don't we?
Yeah,
Differently, like business trouble.
Well, no, I don't think we're going to see the finished article in Australia. I think they're still going to use this hybrid thing up to the European races.
That's what I mean. But I think if you put that much development into a B-Spec car, that's going to come out halfway
How
through
is
the
your
year.
phone still not on silent?
It's my tablet. I haven't muted that.
But if you're going to put that much time into a B-Spec car, you're fucking next year.
But do they have to? Because if they don't have a good season, is there a next year for them?
There's probably not a Daniel Ricciardo. I think that's a big.
Oh,
big deal
he's
for one.
gone at the end of the season. He will walk.
Yeah. Did you notice how nice he was about every team, even down to the DAS system on the Mercedes? Like, yeah, everything's great. I'm so happy they've got it. Good for them.
He is everyone's best
Yeah.
friend,
Yeah.
particularly those who have race-winning
Did,
cars.
did I mention McLaren? I love McLaren.
Yeah, being nice to everyone who's got drivers that are out of contract at the end of the year, which is
most of them.
which is about 90% of the grid.
Bobo driver prediction 2021. Carlos Sainz to Ferrari and Daniel Ricciardo to McLaren.
I think I'd quite like to see both of them, actually. I think
Yeah.
they're quite entertaining.
Don't think that would be a bad thing. But yeah, Renault, so hard to judge.
Being funny, like, I mean, even I don't particularly like Charles Leclerc 'cause I think he's a bit of a whinger.
Really? You've never mentioned
No,
that.
no.
This is
But-
shocking news to the listeners.
But that would be a fucking handsome team, wouldn't it? Like, there would be an outbreak of homosexuality within Ferrari if those two were in that
The
team.
helmet putting on gallery would be interesting for that one. In that
Mm.
case, you could just use it as like a flick book. Like, there's another one.
Right, I think it will be McLaren next.
Yeah.
I think they are going to be the 5th best team.
I think they're going to be 4th best team, so I think Ferrari are in big
Yeah,
trouble.
Ferrari are a bit
Ooh.
questionable, aren't they?
I think McLaren will overall beat Racing Point. Maybe not if they might not beat them on the first race.
But watch out for them. When did we hear
But hang on,
this?
isn't Sergio Perez winning the championship in your world?
Oh yeah, no, just that's my £5 punt. Like, you know, that's like crazy things happen in the world.
But Lance Stroll's going to finish on minus 75 points, so
I see,
that's
yes,
why
Yes.
that's why it means McLaren will be there at the end of the season, somehow running 3 cars with Alonso coming back.
But it's only because I still believe that if you use loads of bits from last year's car, like Racing Point have done, that you will hit a development wall at some point, because that car has already been developed to the nth degree by Mercedes. I don't believe Racing Point can develop it more than what Mercedes have done.
Unless it's Mercedes that's carrying on the development in secret.
No, but even then, I think they would have already done it. You know, do you know what I mean? There is when you get cars, there is like an end of development for a particular development path.
But will Mercedes have necessarily reached that, because they wouldn't necessarily have had to have taken it as far as they could have to still be winning?
Don't forget, we were talking about Mercedes having switched off round about Singapore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if they
that-
just dialed in a couple of tweaks to keep
That's
it looking
true.
fresh, there might actually still be a lot
But
to
it's
go.
still a year old at
Yeah.
that point as well. And McLaren, you know, it's the wind has been sort of in their direction, and they have the like development capabilities that McLaren have. Racing Point is a good team and they develop well. I don't think they do it as well as McLaren do it.
I think it might be one of the more closely fought, more interesting to
Yes,
watch
yeah.
competitions.
It's going to be tight between the pair of them, and
They'll
let's
beat them in the championship because of Stroll.
let his minus 75 points will be all the
Stroll will
difference.
be fourth of the 4 drivers from those two teams.
But back in the Force India days, they were always stronger in the second half of the season. Now, now
It's not McLaren though, is it?
well, no, I'm talking about Racing Point.
No, but the thing, but you like McLaren being as bad as McLaren were has been like a blip in the history of McLaren. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
apart from those Porsche engines, which were another thing.
Yeah, but like as
Oh,
far
when,
as
when they were running Peugeots.
but in modern Formula One,
Yeah.
I don't think they have the facilities and the manpower to beat McLaren.
Don't forget though how much of McLaren's focus is going to be on next year, because they've got more to do than most teams
Probably about the
for
same.
2021.
What have they got more to do?
They're going to be working with a different engine supplier next year.
Yeah, but I mean, there's going to be lot of changes. I know. Yeah, you can.
You know,
Maybe.
they've now got to build a car, but they can't really base a lot of it on what they've got this year.
They've also got a much bigger team than Force Racing India.
And your point being?
That they can afford to develop a car and develop next year's car, where Racing Point are probably going to have to cut off quicker than McLaren are.
McLaren, again, we come back to what I was talking about before with like the NASCAR and Haas side of things. McLaren have a technology arm that can just happen to be looking at the aero application of something and, oh, that might work over there.
Yes, we were making this new rear wing for a bike.
Let's not forget here that this might be just the fact they've only done it this year as well. Racing Point want to be a team. You know, the Enstone team not the Enstone team, sorry.
The Silverstone team.
Silverstone team want to be a real racing team. They don't want to be Haas, for instance. I think they've took all the bits from Mercedes for a one-off glory year, essentially. That's why I don't think the development will go on in that car.
Okay, so you think they're sort of buying themselves some time so that they
For
can
next
start on
year,
next year
yeah.
well in advance. Interesting.
So the Aston Martin rolled out of the garage and look, we made this ourselves, in it good.
But then they've probably put in more time than everyone else. I see the logic.
Yes,
Because they can't go using last year's Mercedes next year.
No.
No, not with everything changing.
That's why Haas will be fucked.
Unless, of course, Dallara.
No, but even so, they still get like Dallara still are heavily influenced by last year's Ferrari.
So they could be next year's Haas could be heavily influenced by this year's Andretti.
I think it's so open next year. This is why I think you'll see lots of drivers. Maybe you'll see people making like punts on things because it's so open for a brawn moment next year.
Yeah, there's now to start that happening.
Yeah.
Because all new rules and you know, look what happened the last time. Mercedes just went, yeah, we got this.
Yeah.
Bang. Pretty much unbeaten.
Yeah.
Ever since. But yeah, I think McLaren, based on what we saw in the tests, out of the teams battling for 4th and 5th, or the most recent 4th and 5th teams, they have drivers sort of capable of 5 and 6, and Racing Point have 4 and 7 in that little mini league between the four of them.
I think
Maybe.
7 potentially could still be optimistic if the Toro thingies are having a good day.
Team
Yeah.
t-shirt.
Yes.
That could be the new one.
Team t-shirt. That's what they're called now.
I mean, even like Lando needs to step up as well this year. You know, he's.
But I think he will do.
I hope
think
he will
rookie
do.
year is done.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget with McLaren last year the amount of out and out bad luck that they had.
Oh yeah, so especially Lando off starts, the amount of clouts he had from different people.
Yeah, you know, one lap in Canada, his brakes are on fire.
Yeah.
You know, it melted the rear suspension.
But he did have a tendency on some of the races he was in where pace disappeared somewhere.
Usually off the line for the first half dozen races because he was losing on average 2.5 places per race.
But even towards the end of the race, you know, think about the amount of times that he's had to help Carlos Sainz out in various
Forever.
times. Yeah. But do you know what I mean? Like he needs to be on pace with Carlos Sainz, or he will lose his seat next year.
I don't think his seat's in danger.
Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, but Sainz is going to Ferrari.
Yeah,
That's the thing. It depends who Daniel
it
Ricciardo
depends
is
who goes.
placing.
Daniel Ricciardo is going to have an effect on the driver market for the second season out of 3,
I hope he
isn't
does it properly this time, because it didn't really
Don't-
kick off quite as much as we were hoping last
Don't
time, did it?
fucking put out the idea of Alonso going back to McLaren next year.
We've made it over an hour into the podcast, though.
No,
We're
but
going more
he's
than an
still.
hour here.
There is going to be one of the best drivers in the world who wants to get back to Formula 1.
Zach
next year.
Brown's already said that he doesn't want him. All right, 10 minutes before he announced that he was driving for them in Indy, and apparently now Alonso's going to be doing a couple more races on the calendar as well.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, it might be an idea to get some practice this time, see if he can actually qualify.
I'm still saying that when he was doing simulator work for McLaren, he wasn't doing that out of the goodness of his heart.
He's doing it for cap sales.
Doing it for cap sales.
He's got all that merch left over from last
Oh,
year's
yeah.
Indy that he needs to shift.
No, he can't because the dickhead had the date stitched into it.
Yeah,
So
never,
unless you
never
get
do
your
that.
pick out and like unstitch
Every
it.
hat comes with a free Kimoa branded Sharpie. Right race details in here.
I'm glad he's racing for McLaren though that year. Like, it would be nice, even if he doesn't win it, if it's just to fucking rescue the shambles that it was the first time round.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll bring Bob Fernley back.
But I suspect not.
I think the only reason Bob Fernley would be getting back is so somebody could slap him.
He has disappeared off the radar completely since the Indy 500 last year.
I suspect he's probably taking some time to enjoy his
It didn't
hobbies.
have a wheel. The car didn't have a wheel.
Neither did Kimi in that mental Baku race, and he did alright.
Steering wheel!
It's true. It's true.
Did he not retire from that race twice?
I think
it was
so,
good.
yeah.
Which is it's not good.
Right, so touched on Racing Point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think probably they are the next one up the ladder. Certainly on car performance. Is this the year that we actually see Perez doing what he's capable of?
I think
Hope so.
Ferrari. I think we need to be
yeah.
talking about Ferrari
Well,
now.
We were talking about Racing Point. Okay, Ferrari fourth.
I think so. I mean, I think they're in a worse position than they appear to be in. I think they're a midfield runner. So in Australia anyway, who knows what they'll be able to rescue throughout the course of the season. But let's look at it easy, yeah? They've got this fucking imminent court case, I think, with the other teams after
The
This-
FIA
yeah.
announcement. Yeah.
I mean, that is
crooked as fuck is what it is.
yeah. I mean, the basics are the FIA and Ferrari have come to a settlement over the questions over last year's fuel flow on the power unit.
Don't
But
do it
You
again.
don't come to a settlement if there was nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And Ferrari will be giving assistance to the FIA on various matters regarding.
It's like safety and
Safety
community
and-
service, and this is what Vettel had to do when he rammed Hamilton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ferrari cheated, like out and out. Like maybe not just a bending of the rules, or like when you get a, you could even say maybe the fucking effed up when McLaren had that. It was within the rules, but it might not be within the spirit.
Yeah, it
Of
was a
Formula One.
loophole.
Yeah. What Ferrari were doing was blatant out and out cheating.
I mean,
And they should be thrown out for a year for it.
I mean, the way that this looks to me from the outside is basically the FIA saying, we know you cheated, but we haven't got cast iron proof. You know you cheated, and you're not going to give us the cast iron proof.
They must have the if they've come to a
if
settlement.
they've-
That sounds like Ferrari have gone. You got us, Gov,
Mhm.
and then they've come to a settlement, but they're not telling the other teams, and the other teams won't talk about it because I think they're going to take Ferrari to court.
Yeah, if they've actually reached a settlement, you would expect they would have a little bit
Mhm.
more.
It's,
I think
are we going back to the days of Ferrari international assistance?
I think we actually
International
have.
cover-uppers.
We've got more questions, I think, about it now than we had
Yeah.
before. Because I think before we knew something was up. Now we
Yeah.
know something's up, but we know less what.
Up until Friday, it was, were Ferrari definitely cheating?
Mm.
Now it's,
Yes.
well,
what and
what
how?
were they doing?
But doesn't this make sense when you look at the pace they had at the beginning of last year, all the way through up until halfway through the year till someone turned around and said, "Hang on a second, mate," and then all the qualifying pace just disappeared. Where all of a sudden, towards the end of last year, they looked like fourth or fifth best car. So does it not stand to reason that now they've been caught with what they were doing, everything's always like a development from the year on year and year. So they would have essentially at the beginning of last year, having not been caught, been looking to go into this year doing the same thing that they were doing, and now all of a sudden they come into this year with a lower powered engine.
Potentially, but we have kind of hypothesised that this year's car is quite different from last year's. So
No,
whether
but
or not
engine-wise,
they've learned anything.
But they've already said that they're down on power.
Mm.
So-
Okay.
You know, that to me says that they would have been doing this. They wanted to carry on doing what they were doing.
So they built the car around the iffy engine,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden the power's not there because
They've cheated
we've got to use the same rules as everyone else.
but they've cheated to make up the deficit to Mercedes. That's what they've done. They can't build an engine to match Mercedes, so they've cheated to try and bridge the gap.
I think we will hear much more on this.
This one is going to drag on.
Yes.
It's going to be bloody.
Which could be good if there's more coronavirus cancelled.
That's true, because
It'll be good for us.
yeah, because it gives us more speculation to
Yeah.
talk about every week when we haven't got races to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
This one's going to drag on longer than Spygate
No.
Maybe.
Or Crashgate.
or Crashgate even. No, just like Spygate and Crashgate, Alonso wasn't involved with this one either.
Nope. So,
In fairness, I think we might genuinely have to let him off on this one. I can't see any way he was involved.
So a difficult season for Ferrari.
I do hope so. But the problem is by having a difficult season for Ferrari, it does take Vettel down. I do kind of like Vettel.
But we know you prefer Leclerc. So what have we got next? Racing Point or Red
More of
Bull?
a shoehorn man,
I
actually.
think probably Racing Point, but maybe not in Australia. It might be higher up in Australia, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the peak Mercedes comments have been there since day one of the first test. The whole aero philosophy is identical to Mercedes from last year.
Is at the front of the car, definitely. But towards the back, it's
Yeah,
there's a few.
I've
sort of
not
areas
looked close up at the
Not like looks
differences.
up its exhaust.
Not yet, but I think we may have to get somebody on at some point to.
I don't think the back
talk
end is
us
quite
through
as
this.
tight as the Mercedes. The Mercedes got this like ultra Coke bottle thing going on, hasn't it? I don't think the back of the Racing Point's quite as tight, and the rear wings are completely different.
I think that there was extra side vanes in the Mercedes ones as well, wasn't there?
No, it's
In the rear wings, the side flaps.
yeah, but I mean, to be perfectly honest, the Racing Point have got some like nifty little wings on like the side panels. They seem to have done a really nice job with the rear wing.
Yeah, I don't know if they've got a new aero team working there, but I mean they've been on this massive recruitment drive over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It appears to be paying off. Either that or I don't know, somebody found some blueprints in a photocopy shop somewhere in Northampton. Pinned up.
They did lose some staff. I know of certainly a couple of people who went from Force India, as they were then, to Mercedes when it was a bit sort of iffy as to what was going on in that administration period. So there is some crossover of personnel.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of plans with them like that.
Do you think Williams is pretty good?
Williams.
Yeah, because
They were hoping to be Mercedes too.
well, I think they kind of knocked it back though, didn't they? Because when the talks about them having a technical link up with Mercedes, it was Claire Williams going, no, we're
We're our own
Williams,
team.
we're an independent team.
Yeah, I mean
Which I kind of admire, but
one thing that
when
she
you're
said.
at the back of the grid, it's
Yeah.
One thing that she said that was very telling on Friday was the reason that they're building their own gearboxes and not taking the Mercedes ones
Yeah.
is that it would actually cost more to make the entire gearbox team redundant than it would be to buy in the gearboxes from somewhere else. So it would cost them money.
What is their redundancy package?
Was this
like?
Williams saying that?
This was Claire Williams.
Sounds like PR bullshit to me. That.
Everything anyone says sounds like PR bullshit.
You know,
to you.
because even if you buy the gearboxes in, you're still going to need the mechanics to fit them and look after them and do the stuff with them. It's not and break them down and rebuild them between races.
But I think these are the designers. I don't know how many people it takes to design and build the gearboxes to how many people it takes to
I think if you had a Williams capable
mechanic another team's gearbox that you brought in.
But if you had a Williams that was capable of scoring podiums and being in the points all the time, I'm pretty sure that money deficit would be worked out pretty fucking rapidly by the end of the year.
Unless they haven't got the operating budget to actually make the redundancy payments, which would have to go out all at once and then pay out money for the gearboxes rather than you just pay the wages every month from the cash flow that's coming in.
I don't know, it just sounds like nonsense.
don't forget accountancy and money when it comes to business works in different ways.
Oh no, I understand that, but I'm just saying what that to me.
Actually, accountants work in different ways as well. If you were listening to the Patreon,
But that to me sounds like I say, Williams must be gutted. So, but I think Williams must be gutted. That to me sounds like PR nonsense for them to say, oh yeah, well we didn't want it anyway because of this. No.
yeah, I mean, if you're given the opportunity to be effectively Mercedes' Haas,
Mhm.
Yeah, well,
do you take it?
being Ferrari's Haas hasn't worked so well for Haas.
That they went out and pretty much bought half another team to make them their new B team.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't particularly good for Sauber, really. You know, it's Sauber, Alfa Romeo are they're still where Sauber would
Yeah.
be. They haven't really gone forward like we thought they were going to.
Yeah, they were cusp of the points the last year
Mm.
with Leclerc and Ericsson. They were kind of in the same area
Kind of where
last year.
Sauber lives.
Yeah.
The occasional surprise result and then anonymous.
Mm.
I mean, 5 years ago when we started doing this, we christened him Anonymous Sauber.
Yeah.
God, is it really 5 years?
God, I wonder what would have happened if BMW would have just stayed as an engine manufacturer for Sauber instead of buying the team out and wrecking it.
I think we'd have been looking at
BMW Sauber being a top running team.
Sauber fighting Mercedes for championships.
Yeah, I do.
Few bits of world title, mid to late noughties.
They would have at least been where Red Bull have been in the sort of non-championship winning Red Bull times.
Mm.
Yeah, he'd certainly have had more than one win against his name.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Although Ferrari were about to poach him.
Well, yeah, that's true.
And Renault took him off Sauber as well.
Yes.
But again, that was
Well,
Sauber on its way
But
down,
that was
wasn't
yeah,
it?
that was when they stopped being as good.
Yeah, it's been well ripped apart.
Um,
Same with Williams. If BMW fucked Williams as well.
Yeah. So if you're a team principal and BMW say we can help,
No,
Probably
shut-
just, yeah,
shut the door.
move on.
thanks but no thanks. Treat it as you would any other cold call.
BMW, be right back.
So where were we? Yeah, with Racing Point. The
I'm
only
thinking since we've veered away, have we covered Racing Point?
I was going to say the only thing that seems to be going to be letting them down is Lance Stroll.
Well, yes.
Yeah, I want him to do well, but I mean, how many seasons has he been in? Is this third season?
No, this
No,
was
fourth.
Fucking hell. Fucking
Yeah.
hell.
2 at Williams. Last year at Racing Point, this year at Racing Point.
This is make or break for him. His dad is going to get sick of it at some point. If
I don't think they can have him in Aston Martin next year.
if Perez is challenging for podiums and Stroll is challenging for points,
Yeah, it's not good.
then that's it. He's been found out.
I think Perez will win a race this year. If it depended on how many races we have. You know, I mean, even with
Right,
ridiculous
so-
championship hours.
So this is going to be a repeat of when Keke Rosberg won the World Drivers' Championship because he only won one race that season.
No, come on now. The championship, the championship thing is by no means a prediction. It's
You just put your money on it.
it's worth a fiver of my money at 250 to 1 on the chance. Like I said, the crazy accumulator of things that had to go on for my idea to work, of Red Bull and Ferrari fucking it, and the two Mercedes taking each other out every other weekend. You know, we're talking Heinz Howard Frentzen in the Jordan when he was a fucking outsider for the World Championship. Yeah, that's what we're talking here.
It
But-
could happen.
But I do think it's like a genuine opportunity for them to win a Grand Prix. Like they almost won a Grand Prix with Fisichella.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah, one technical cock up away from winning a race.
and Kimi being pretty fucking ace around Spa.
Yeah.
If there was any man they didn't want there to be racing in Spa, it's Kimi Raikkonen, isn't
Well, yeah.
it?
So I mean, we covered Ferrari, who
Yeah.
we think a third Racing Point came out.
Covered Ferrari with scorn and disapproval.
Just an average week. So that just leaves Mercedes.
Have we done Red Bull?
Oh, we haven't done Red Bull. Well, we kind of dropped them in various
We've
bits
got
because
We haven't done Max.
yeah, we had a
Yeah.
little Albon
Yeah.
moment.
yeah,
Could not get his glory run together, could he?
No.
there was a lot of sandbagging mid-afternoon on Friday.
There was a
'cause-
lot
Yeah,
of
but then
sand trapping.
But they sent him out, didn't they? Like the last 5 minutes, those tyres, they took they took the covers off on one side before the other side because they reckoned they needed to be cooler because it's a whichever way the track goes around. I can't remember in Barcelona. like,
clockwise.
They like properly did it like a quali run.
Yeah,
It was like there were stopwatches and shit in that garage,
and
and it didn't.
then he goes and screws up the chicane.
Yeah.
But yeah, earlier on, I don't know if you saw this, but he was setting absolutely blistering first and second sectors on the nice straight and long curve bits. And it's like you said,
Red Bull Central, that, isn't it?
yeah, give it a tight corner,
Mm.
because on the third, as you described it last week, twisty turny bit,
Mm.
he was all over the bloody place.
If I blind you with technical knowledge, just tell me and I'll simplify it.
Yeah, can you simplify twisty turny bit a bit further?
Squiffy bit.
That'll do. Yeah, he was absolutely useless on sector 3.
Yeah.
That is unusual for a Red Bull, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's usually their thing.
It's unusual for Max Verstappen as well.
Mm.
So, have they built a car which is quick but hard to drive, and then
Red Bull's diva.
if they make it easier to drive, are they going to lose pace?
Mm.
I'm wondering now, looking at that, whether Max Verstappen is going to regret his early contract signing.
Signed until 2050.
I'm sure there's a contract. Is it 2023?
I think it might be 2024.
I was going to say, I think it was a 5-year deal that he signed last
Is it?
year.
They-
Yeah.
Obviously, there'll be some sort of performance clause in it because he's, if he had a performance clause in the last one where he had to finish third in the championship,
Mhm.
which we now know,
Mm.
the
Yeah, but I mean, let's face it, who would you back in a fight? Jos Verstappen or Christian Horner?
Oh, yes, obviously.
I think they'd both go out and crush Prost together. But
You expected anything different? Actually, no. Who would you rather in a fight, Jos Verstappen or Helmut Marko?
Oh, hell.
oh, I reckon I could batter Helmut Marko.
It depends
But
though.
how about the other eye?
Yeah.
Oh no, well, I just punch him in the good eye first. What are you gonna do now? It'd be like fighting a cyclops after
I
that.
reckon he knows some like dark arts though. Like he will
Like
know.
Palpatine.
Yeah.
That's
He
dangerous,
has a
isn't it?
touch. He has a touch of the Emperor about him.
F1's own Bill Belichick.
I'm almost convinced he's had a few touches, but anyway,
Verstappen's contract is 2023. by the way.
2023.
Yeah.
So yeah, I reckon there's going to be a performance clause in his contract next year, so
Yeah,
we can
that would sound reasonable.
so we can see what the new cars are like.
I think anyone who's contracted beyond the end of this season has probably got a performance clause for 2021. So
Or anyone of note.
Yeah, Leclerc.
well, no, I think the only drivers with contracts beyond the end of this season are Verstappen, McLaren, Perez.
Yeah.
Because tellingly, Lance Stroll has only got a 1-year contract.
I still don't think he's ever been announced. I think he just turns up. I don't remember ever seeing a big like Lance Stroll signs announcement.
I feel that Leclerc probably hasn't got the performance clause that you might think he has in his contract because he's not been like Max Verstappen. He hasn't proven himself like Max Verstappen has, and he signed for Ferrari when Ferrari were doing the squiffy engine bit. So he signed when Ferrari looked every bit like the championship contender. So if come Bahrain, like when his engine blew up and he could have won the race. Come Bahrain, if someone turned around to him and said, "We sign a 5-year deal for us," you're probably going to go, "Yeah." You're not going to know that later on in the season they're going to take the go juice out of your engine.
Well, he's been with Ferrari for how many years?
But,
Yeah, I think they have developed him.
Yeah, I think they brought him through
Mm.
from when he was about 14 or 15.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might have even been a little bit younger than that. And now they've got the other one, haven't they? The other Leclerc.
Yes, Arthur.
I think he did Formula E rookie test.
Oh, that's a shame for him.
He was very average.
Was he?
Yeah.
So an exceptional Formula E driver.
I think he was about like 16th out of 20. But possibly a little bit younger and a little bit less than some of the others in terms of track time.
But yeah, back to Red Bull. If they have made a tricky car to drive on twisty circuits, it's not very Adrian Newey, is it?
But the other thing, well, everyone runs out of juice sooner or later, be you a competitor or a designer or anything. You know, there comes a point where, especially if you excel at something, that the ideas stop. It's like it's a natural thing of getting old. We see it in every field. That I think Allison. I think James Allison is the new
The new Newey.
the new daddy of making Formula One cars. It'd be interesting to see whether James Key turns into that sort of, you know, considering Red Bull were grooming him to be their next Adrian Newey. It'll be interesting to see whether James Key can become a permanent fixture in what are conversation of designers.
He's been around the fringes since 2-3 years back.
Yeah.
When he designed the Mercedes on Toro Rosso. But I mean, I think Chris said it a couple of weeks ago. This is his first McLaren that he's overseen the whole lot of.
Yeah. It's probably the first car that he's been able to develop as well, which has had as large a budget as McLaren would have given, with the freedom to do what he's doing without a big brother team looking over the shoulder all the time, and not even just looking over the shoulder, but turning around and saying, we'd rather you put these bits on the car because we think they'll work good for us by Spain.
Possibly. Or these bits don't work quite as well for us anymore, you have to put them on now.
Yeah.
So that just leaves Mercedes.
Sorry, just quick before we do the Mercedes, Max Verstappen does not look like a title contender this year, does he? From testing right now.
Because
No.
Not what we, but from what we saw, I think Red Bull had to do a Mercedes. They had to do the pounding of laps in. They had to do the consistent race runs, and and they haven't really looked like a consistent team. Where Mercedes just consistently looked like Mercedes.
But I don't think Verstappen needs that.
I think Red Bull do.
I think Red Bull possibly, but I think Verstappen, if he just happens to turn up and the car is quick, he'll be fine.
Oh yeah, but he needs it to be consistent over the course of the season.
the problem is though, does the car look quick and not as quick as previous?
One to keep an eye on.
Yeah, or certainly on more technical tracks.
Yeah.
Right, that does leave Mercedes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Banged the laps in, had mostly good reliability apart
Mercedes
from
test by numbers.
one engine going. No, not a Mercedes test by numbers. They got in more laps this year than they did in last year with 2 less days.
Wow. That's right.
So
It was an effort.
yeah.
this was Mercedes test 2.0, if they're the numbers.
So that makes sense that one of the engines went.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If they're putting that way, if they literally were going out to break the car.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Friday alone between Hamilton and Bottas, they did 3 Grand Prix distances.
That's crazy. That's like back with the Rosberg Hamilton days where they broke the drivers before they broke the car.
Yeah. You know, they were just outrunning race sims, throwing in the odd quali lap, and nothing major went wrong. And I think it's going to be business as usual this year.
Oh, yeah.
How much? I know you go into every season, especially a team like Mercedes, and we think that they're going to give each driver equal opportunity to win a championship. Now, when you've got one of your drivers who is one of the most marketable people in Formula One, now
And the other's Lewis Hamilton.
yeah, but but becoming one of those sportsmen that come around every once in a while that transcend the sport they're in. You know, we're talking Tiger Woods, David Beckham's, Kobe Bryant's, those type of people that just lift themselves out of the sport they're in and become public figures.
Everyone knows who they are, regardless of whether they follow the sport or not.
Yeah, and not only that, he is like a nose away from becoming the most successful driver in Formula One history. how much you want that Finn to get a championship? Really?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? There's a lot of, I could kind of see an argument from both sides of it, because there's a lot to getting Hamilton
Yeah.
to that point where he's level with Schumacher and blah blah blah.
Also, it's a value prospect. Look at the amount they pay Hamilton to the amount they pay
Yeah,
the Bottas.
Yeah.
but yeah, having across the era 3 different champions in your car, it kind of shows that it was your car as
Yeah.
well. And I think that could be something Mercedes would be keen to have.
Maybe.
I don't think there's any doubt that Mercedes are trumpeting that it's their
Oh
car.
yeah.
You know, regardless of who wins this year, which it is going to be Hamilton.
Oh yeah, it will be.
Something crazy is going to have to happen. I think Lewis is going to have to lose the championship. You know, it's going to be one of those ones where his head's going to have to go for Bottas to beat him, because I don't think Bottas is capable.
What he spends all season trying to take Bottas out or something.
Yeah, I just don't think he would need a 2008 McLaren type season. You know,
Too much infighting.
so in
I was gonna say,
2008,
2008 went quite
yeah,
well.
it
for
went
Hamilton.
quite well. Which was it 2009 where he kept driving into Massa?
I don't know if it was 2009 where he kept driving into Massa.
I think it was that was the year of Don't Touch Me Man.
No, I think that was a
because
couple of
Button
years
was his
later.
teammate. So it would have been 2011
Yeah, I
maybe.
think it would have been.
Yeah, it would have been 2011 because that was Button's exceptional year with McLaren,
I
wasn't
think
it?
it might even have been 2012.
Yeah, I can't remember. Anyway,
Although
But yeah,
Hamilton
it was
spent-
in that neck of the woods.
Although Hamilton spent a lot of the Canadian Grand Prix that year driving into Button.
yeah, but he had an exceptionally bad year where just nothing seemed to go right for him, and I think he would have to have that same sort of like personal life psychological breakdown for Bottas to win a world championship. I just don't see it happening now.
I think personally he's achieved zen.
Yeah, he does. He seems happy with where he is.
The next iteration of Lewis Hamilton will be he'll evolve into purest energy.
Yeah. Oh, he becomes Q.
Yeah, I mean, if testing showed us anything, it's that Mercedes have designed another championship winning car.
Seems to.
And they've put a championship winning driver in it.
And even then, right, even without because they talk about not bringing Das to the first race, so and we don't even know what that's worth. Like with the Mercedes, looks like a decent car anyway when they haven't tested
Yeah,
that.
I think they only used it once in the whole the
Yeah,
second week
yeah.
for 2 laps or something.
I think Bottas had a go and Hamilton had a go, didn't they? And that was
Yeah.
it. So the car's fine without that, but we don't even know whether that's like some sort of smoking gun. Because I have a theory on this why they're not going to bring it to the first race, because they know they have a fast car and they don't want the possibility of them getting thrown out of the first race under appeal. Because the FIA have said it's legal, you know, the system's legal, but there's still a question mark because you're adjusting the toe of the car, whether that's legal in Pop Ferme regulations.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? You can't lodge an appeal
Yeah.
until it's raced.
Yeah, but the thing is, because you're not allowed to adjust anything in Pop Ferme, teams are saying this is kind of adjusting things in a Pop Ferme sense.
Having a part on the car that makes a difference
Yeah.
to the car.
Yeah, because it's essentially just ride height minorly as well while you're doing it.
Yeah, it will do because the wheels are going to be at
Yeah.
a different angle, so it's going to be millimetres.
Yeah, but it might just be enough for Ferrari to stop it. But realistically, I think Ferrari might want to sit this complaint out.
Yeah, I don't think they've got any grounds to complain
No.
about anything. I think that is about all of testing. Drive to Survive, we're going to talk about this week. You've only done the first 4 episodes.
Yes.
We binged the entire thing on
We
Friday
did
night.
it all in one sitting.
Mm.
Which
So,
was-
yeah, there's now a me-shaped din on the sofa. If you haven't watched it yet, make time.
How many episodes is it?
10. I mean, the Haas episode is...
Slightly longer than most of them.
That is the longest
reasons.
episode of the series. That is a good 3 minutes longer than any other episode.
If you watched last year's and you thought Gunter Steiner was
Sweary.
hilarious and very sweary and could not possibly recreate that. It's better. It's better this year.
I thought Daniel Ricciardo at the beginning of episode 2 was hilarious.
Oh, the Netflix accounts.
Yeah.
You won't show this.
Already had that meme used against us.
So good. Yeah, I felt so sorry for Daniel Ricciardo in that first episode because he was so positive about his move.
Yeah.
And you were watching him there going around the factory. You thought, fucking hell, mate.
It's like hugging everyone.
Yeah,
I'm so happy to be
fuck
here.
this.
There's a lot of throughout in several of the episodes. A lot of this is not aged well.
Yeah, just hope Danny Rick's opening race of the season lasts longer than 200 metres this time.
Yes, don't hit the grid. Don't get on the
Yeah.
grass.
I'm looking forward to seeing what happens when him and Ocon get close together.
Yeah, I get the feeling him and Ocon don't get on.
I've got a feeling Ocon gets on with nobody.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? Ricardo gets on with everyone.
Yeah.
So how much of an ass must Ocon be?
Yeah, I mean, Perez still won't have anything to do with him.
Well, I think you could see a lot about that man with when we saw the camera of Verstappen and Ocon. You know, after Ocon had took him out, like when he was leading the race, being
Yeah.
lapped, and Verstappen was pushing him, wasn't it? But he had such a smarmy, passive aggressive way about him. And, you know, I can. Any other man in that situation would have apologised because you just cost somebody a win when you were fucking being lapped. And for him to
Well, he was trying to one-lap himself.
yeah, but
But like, you don't do that unless you can definitely do it.
and you don't do it on the fucking race leader when
No.
you know it's only because of your tyres, and 20 seconds down the road they're going to have to overtake you again. It was ridiculous.
I mean, that was a mini version of Ayrton Senna and Eddie Irvine
Yeah,
for the same thing,
but
an unlapping incident.
the other way round, the other way round, you could understand it. For instance, if Verstappen had a bad race and the racing point was ahead, and Verstappen unlaps himself because the Red Bull is going to go
It's
off
probably
down
a
the road.
recovery, it probably
Yeah,
can,
yeah. That racing point was never going to pull away from a Red Bull. Otherwise, it wouldn't be being fucking lapped by one. So
I
yeah,
think it had been lapped while it was in the pits, but still.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ocon does seem tricky to get on with.
Yeah, I'm interested because I found him crashy when he was in Formula One. I can't see how a season doing no wheel-to-wheel racing will fix that.
Historically, that's not been good for anyone, really,
No.
is it? I mean, Gasly had, he was a year in super Formula, wasn't he?
Yeah, Ocon's
Yeah.
race suit has been made up entirely of pixels for 12 months.
Yeah.
I don't think I think they do actually wear race suits when they're in the sim. It's not that they don't sit there naked and just look at it in VR.
No, they're just naked and it's like a sim. They're just,
I worry about you sometimes. But yeah, watch Drive to Survive. If you've not got a Netflix account, you can get a 30-day trial.
Mhm.
You'll only need it for 1 day.
Well, ask a friend. You can use it
Yeah.
to log
And you can
on.
watch Stranger Things. You've not got Netflix, you haven't watched Stranger Things, so you're weird.
We got halfway through the first series and got bored.
I love Stranger Things.
It was
great.
it's very nice to look at. It's very beautifully put together. It's not very interesting.
I enjoyed it. I enjoy Sabrina, Chilling Adventures
Yes,
Sabrina
we
as
need to-
well.
Yeah, we've only done 1 episode of season
Yeah.
3, but we're veering into Patreon territory. We need to save all that material for weeks when they're on
I
releases.
love her.
Shall we do a total shot?
Why not?
In that case, I will phone and tablet face down just to prove that I am not cheating. And who is this week's shunt from?
This week's shunt is, as soon as I get
And is it easier to pronounce than last week's?
Chris. Yeah, just Chris.
Is this why you're skiving this week then?
You right, Chris? Yeah, there's no surname on the thing. Anyway, right. I was born
Yay.
in 1981,
Okay.
Right.
1 year before our Lord and Saviour me. I was active in motor racing between 2001 and 2008.
That's quite a short career. So 2001, so this is someone who would have been 20 and done 7 years.
Yeah, that is not the longest career
This
going.
is bizarre. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not entirely convinced it's person at this point.
I was involved in 4 open wheel series in my career. I'd also like to guess.
I'm still leaning towards thing rather than person, because you don't start open wheel at 20, you start open wheel at like 16 after doing some karting.
Yeah. Unless it was somebody that had been doing.
But well, you don't start open wheel at 20 and progress to 3 over formula.
No, that's true. Unless it was someone that was doing bikes beforehand,
But that's still motor racing.
yeah. So, what motor racing related companies would have kicked off around about 1981 then? That aren't around anymore.
So 2008. Was it 2008? Was that 2001 to 2008? Was that the...
2001, 2008, yeah.
So would that have been... That would have been around the time like Super Aguri and Spiker started disappearing. Getting rebranded.
I mean, Spiker were a Dutch sports car manufacturer that had been around since before they came into F1.
This is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Spiker's a good call. Spiker's a good call.
Come Spiker.
Yeah.
My highest championship position was 14th.
With less than 14 teams.
So I think
we are now
we are looking at
individual.
person. I've got a vague idea for a guess, but I'm not going to throw it out until we've had a couple more clues.
Okay.
I spent 2 years in Formula 1.
Right.
Okay, yeah. This is still kind of fitting in with my thoughts.
Okay, good.
My first Grand Prix was in my own country.
And there goes my idea out the window, because I was
What was
thinking
your thought?
Robert Dornbos, or Robert Dornobs, but he's Dutch,
Yes.
so that kind of buggers that one up.
So if someone's first race, imagine it doesn't make it, I mean mid-season it can be a wobbler, but we're probably looking...
Could be looking at an Aussie.
I don't think there was a great deal of Aussies about then, aside from Webber though, was there?
No. So a mid-season replacement.
Yeah.
And this is a guess one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unless, like Max Verstappen, Robert Dornbos is also Belgian and came in mid-season.
I want to say he still races in some form though.
I mean, there's that old Dutch LMP2 team which just appears to get. Are you Dutch? Yes. Do you have a racing license? Yes. Are you free this weekend? Yeah.
Yeah,
Get
I
in.
think he might have been in that.
Yeah, that's
At
what
some
I mean. I think he makes appearances alongside.
Yeah, but this is someone whose motor racing career was
Yeah.
2001 to 2008, so it's not someone active.
Yeah. Jaime Alguersuari.
Younger, about 10 years younger.
I like Alguersuari.
And also made his debut 2009.
Yeah, that would rule him out.
Yes.
This is a tough one.
Yeah.
I think we might even have to skip a guess on this.
We can bank doorknobs and...
Yeah, we'll say Bobby Doorknobs for now, but we know that's wrong.
Right. My best Grand Prix result was 8th.
So, probably not someone who was racing in 2005, because that's always a good one for an erroneously high result, unless they were in that.
So that rules out Tiago Montero.
Patrick Friedzacker.
Oh god, yeah. Narain Cayenne and
The other one.
the other one.
Ray Carter would have got a nosebleed if he was 8.
Oh god, it was the other one.
I can't remember. But it doesn't matter, because
Yeah.
they're not
It's
the
not,
answer.
it's none of
This
them.
is something we can Google afterwards for fun.
If you think you're confused now, I can't wait to give you number 8.
Oh,
I think you're going to have to.
Excellent. Go
I
on.
have been contracted to Tottenham Hotspur. Enjoy that.
Right, okay, there was that Premier Formula, wasn't there? Formula Football, where all the cars were sponsored by a football team.
No idea.
Because there was the Juventus one. I remember for some reason there was a Leeds United one. It was about as good and as successful as A1GP.
I was just going to say,
Wonderful.
was Leeds United like Williams' team?
No, they were closer to like Ferrari because they were cheating. Because it is dirty, dirty Leeds for any of the football fans out there. Yeah, I reckon it was someone that was driving the Tottenham car in that. I can't remember what it was called. It was something like
Formula football.
Formula,
We'll call it
yeah,
that for-
Formula Football.
So, okay, right. What have we got? Have we got another clue before we guess it?
Yeah, and I think we might need
We
the
will
Spaffer
need
as
it,
well at this
yeah.
rate.
You've got another 2 clues. I have raced for Prost and Jordan in my career.
Got a sneeze coming. I don't know when it's coming, but it's definitely coming.
Sneeze into your elbow.
Sneezing with the microphone, they deserve it.
That's why we've got pop shields.
I don't think the pop shield deals with a sneeze.
Prost and Jordan. The only 2 drivers I can name with any degree of certainty that raced for both those teams were Jean Alesi and Eddie Irvine.
Don't think it's either of those.
Do I mean Eddie Irvine? Heinz Harald Frentzen.
Yeah, again.
Yeah.
Again,
not
finished
ten.
better than 8.
Yeah.
Difficultness.
Because I mean, Jordan have had some complete clunkers driving the car as well, and Prost's cars were usually complete clunkers.
Yeah.
What are you saying about Ralph Furman?
I remember you calling him the ugliest man ever to step foot into an F1 car.
I stand by that
Do we need
statement.
a guess at this point?
No, we've got another before the next guess, and the potential of a Spaffer.
Good. Yes.
Does Daniel Kvyat be him? Daniel Kvyat's a strange looking man. Anyway.
He looks like a young version of John Bishop.
He looks like a cartoon character. My F1 debut was a result of a minor injury to another driver.
Right.
Zolt Baumgartner, Hungarian, drove in the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Was that when Schumacher had his... No, it wasn't that when he broke his leg.
Mika Salo took over and then, didn't he?
Yes.
I reckon it is.
It's a good name. Can't tell you much else about him. So
Is there a
it's
Spaffer, or
good
do we throw it out there for the?
There is a Spaffer,
If-
but
I think
are you
if
feeling brave?
Someone's taken the time to put together a Spaffer.
Yeah, I think give us the Spaffer, but I'm pretty confident.
I imagine there is an only supposed to be in this sentence, so I'm going to.
I am the driver from my home country.
Yes.
Are you Zolt Baumgartner?
I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a good one. Thank you very much for that, Chris.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, who was it he replaced?
Cannot remember.
Was it 2008 Hungarian Grand Prix?
Yeah, I can't remember.
And yeah, I seem to remember he came in at the last minute because he was available and there because they were in Hungary. I think he might have just been hanging around the pits waving a super license to anyone that wanted
It
it.
was 2008. It was 2003.
Was it 2003? God.
Let's have a look. 2003. Scrolling.
Whatever happened to Zolt Baumgartner?
Ralph
Don't know.
Furman suffered a horrendous crash apparently, and had to be replaced.
By somebody less ugly, apparently. No, that was really good. How do you send a total shunt in?
You can tweet me at Total Shunt in a private message, and you can do the same on Instagram.
Cool. And if you want to get in touch with the rest of us, we're at 3Legs4Wheels on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram as well. And our own other tweets are
At Sean Camper.
at Pablo100 and Chris is at Flood21.
And come and follow me, because it's really annoying at the minute, because I just seem to hover at 900 followers. I want another 100, I want 1,000, so there's easy another 100 of yous out there which can just follow me, so just do it. At a Total Shunt I need you.
You're currently on 899.
See?
You've lost someone.
Yeah, and it's always a Russian bot that just disappears all of a sudden.
As predictable, here is a jump cut for Formula Lee. And that is the end of this week's jump cut. Right, next week it's going to be a preview, we hope. But that also means predictions as well, we hope. And the online prediction league is running. I don't think we're going to do the Fantasy F1 this year because, let's be honest, they're not very good.
Well, I formed a team, and then for some reason went to log back into it, used the password that I know it was because it was fucking saved by the browser I was using, and it keeps telling me that the password's wrong. So I just thought, you know what, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
So someone's going to have to keep up with mine. I've joined the WTF1 League and the Isle of Man League. So if anyone wants to check out of mine, I am at a total shun. 3Legs4Wheels.
Right.
Good.
But we are doing we're doing the online predictions league again, and there's a few tweaks for this season. It's going to be
Well, like crackhead tweaks.
that kind of. It's going to be top 3 as usual, pole position and fastest lap as usual. But 2 new things for this year. You can double up on one race this season. You can go for double points, and also an extra point if you correctly predict the number of DNFs in each race.
Ooh.
The rules are on the website, 3Legs4Wheels.com. Go to the games section and it's in there. And
Doubling up on China.
Probably not the tactic to go with.
It's both, though, isn't it?
It is bold, so I'll give you that.
right, we will be back next week. We will have a fuller team next week.
Yes.
I am hedging a bet that there will be at least 4 people. There might.
Don't catch chickens, you know, corona and stuff.
That is true. We are aiming for at least 4, if not more, people. Right, next week. No, I'm not crap at this. Well, I am. Right, I think that's about it. Just want to say thank you to all the people that joined us on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who's donated on Patreon. Patreon.com.
We're going to talk to YouTube people in a minute.
Yeah, we will do the usual YouTube chat at the end of this. But we'll see you next week, and hopefully we'll have a race to preview.
Yay.
Ta-ra.
Bye.
Right, how do you work this time?
That's off.
You switched it off this time. You didn't record like an extra half hour or so.
No. You might want to edit the Patreon podcast.
Paul's gone all Bernie on as someone save him.
What? Fucking hell, that's not very nice.
Super geek for knowing that one. I'm good at pub quizzes.
You're very good at pub
Quizzes like to a professional level at one point, as far as Sony are concerned.
That is true. I was the 6th best buzz quiz player in the UK.
I thought you were 8th.
Oh, sorry, I qualified. No, what?
Get down.
What? I was 6th. I was 6th in the online qualifiers.
You
I
were
came 8th.
7th, I thought, in the qualifier.
Absolutely
I thought it was
Ferrari
six.
in his story.
Anyway, I was in the top 10.
It's still a very good achievement, I just wanted to be statistically correct.
I got a free trip to London out of it. Yeah,
Someone says tell Lee to stop fantasising about Max in Merc. Did we talk about that?
Maxim, why am I fantasising about Maxim Merck?
Apparently you are, and you need to stop it.
I've never said anything about Maxim Merck. I want Alonso in everything. If you'd said that, that's fine. Like,
Including your personal cavities.
wow, he's another handsome man.
oh, I see. Right.
Rugged as well.
Right, Jeb Bush. I see what you mean about going all Bernie with the double points. It's not me. It's the app. It was available. I thought, oh, it'll be a good laugh.
Jeb Bush sounds like a euphemism, doesn't it?
It is a real thing.
Give us the
memory card.
Oh.
Where's my G5?
Oh yeah, you'll need that. Well, I'll need that to mix it.
Yep.
This
Which-
is a vital part.
Which I'm probably going to do tonight when I get home, because I've got to log on and do some work at midnight.
Oh yeah.
Um, really looking forward to that. Guess who's going into work late tomorrow because of it?
Excuse me. I go into work early, that's why I'm
That's
yawning.
interesting. What's going on here?
So, any YouTube-y type questions from the 37 of you that...
Well,
They're
that's
just-
fucked.
they're all just
Oh,
so-
we haven't brought in another one, have we?
Yeah, it's fucked.
Oh, Jesus, wet.
Are F2 and F3 testing
I don't
in
have a memory
affected
card that'll fit
areas?
it.
So yeah, question, are F2 and F3 testing in affected areas? They'll be following F1 around. They have been testing today and I can't remember
God,
where they
no,
are.
that is... Hang on.
Is it gone? Is it?
I'll look that up while we have the dulcet sounds
Just
of...
see if we can... Where's it go?
broken
It's on the
cars.
other side.
Can't remember where F2 are testing.
Or is it that way?
No, it should be the other way. Thrilling. This is what you pay the big bucks for, patrons.
So yeah, F2 appear to be testing in Bahrain, which is risky.
Although some of the Renault drivers couldn't get that. No,
Oh, no, it's all good. It's all good. The Renault driver that couldn't get there, they've just slotted Sergei Sorokin in instead for quality testing experience.
Oh, the plastic's broken. Oh, I might be able to get the contacts have come loose.
And F3 were in Bahrain as well, so all of F2 and F3 are there.
You got USB to USB cable in that?
I've got a USB to USB-C cable.
I can fire it onto your tablet.
Yeah, it's not right. That is shagged.
Yes.
Will Haas be in F1 next
Thank you,
year?
patrons. Any patrons that's still here,
Matt,
you're buying us memory cards.
I'll be ordering a new memory card tonight. Matt, you should have seen the poll on Twitter. It was very close. It was like 49-51.
The jury is out.
Yeah. Can you put it on my phone? 'Cause I'm using the tablet at the minute.
Yeah. Thank you.
You might have to. You might have to make a slight. It should be USB-C.
Yes, it is. Oh no, I can't do it with that case.
Hang on. No. It should, oh, is it the shielding too
Yeah.
bloody thick? Oh, crying
Yeah.
out loud. Forget how thin my phone is when it's not in the case.
Oh,
Well, that went well.
did go well. Oh, jeez.
Do people underestimate nepotism when they say they don't think Mick will get an F1 seat because he's not as good as the others?
Someone swallowed a dictionary.
So,
Well,
I think the biggest issue is I don't think he will have enough points for a super license. I think that's his main issue rather than nepotism or otherwise or thing. I don't think he will be that high up in the championship.
no, I think.
Paul, that says folder's empty. If I make one just saying 3Legs4Wheels, will you be able to find it somewhere?
Yes.
Right.
Somewhere, hopefully.
If not, you're sending it on Dropbox tomorrow.
Why can't I make a folder?
It's the phone needs to be unlocked.
Show everyone your password, Paul. Amazing. Oh, where's it gone? Where's it gone?
How are you spelling that?
Ridge, gap, ridge.
There we go.
So yeah, do we think Mick Schumacher makes it to F1 because of his dad? Or?
If he just gets through to F1, it will be because of his dad, and I think 'cause he can't even. I don't think he's even got enough to do Fridays
No, he
this
hasn't
year, has
yet,
he?
no.
And of course, the new rule is that you get 1 point for every Friday practice up to a maximum of 10
Yes.
as
Well,
of
I
this
like that
season.
one, yeah.
So I think this season, if he gets enough to do Fridays, then next season, I reckon we'll see him driving for all 3 Ferrari powered teams.
Just constantly, one every week.
For half the season, just to get his 10 points. And then combined with what he's doing in Formula 2 or Super Formula or Super GT or wherever Ferrari end up sticking him, they'll get him over the line, but I think the earliest we'll see him in F1 will be 2022.
Someone's asked as well, is he teammates with Schwartzman? Yes, he is. And that's who I think will be more
He appears to be the better Ferrari young driver out of the two of those.
Testing, James Arugula did very well in testing, I think, the other day. New appointee of the Red Bull meat grinder.
What happened to your IndyCar driver that Red Bull signed?
Pato Award.
Yeah,
Binned.
binned,
Yeah.
gone.
He was only on a short-term deal, and he's in IndyCar full time this year.
Wow, because
Yeah,
he
is
was
with McLaren, is he that one, or is he?
he was really talked
I
up.
don't know.
wasn't
I
he?
can't
yeah,
look. I
and
can't
then
look it up.
It
'Cause
didn't really happen, and then he got binned.
Wow.
He wasn't particularly good in Super Formula, and he had one F2 race and wasn't great.
I remember him having an F2 race.
Yeah, I remember
It was
having the F2
average.
race that wasn't great. Now you say it, crazy.
But,
Red Bull get through them like, don't they? Jesus.
Yeah, he replaced Dan Tickton,
Yeah,
who hasn't been binned off all that long.
no, it's crazy. I look forward to F2 this year.
Patrizio Award is with Arrow McLaren.
Oh, he's a McLaren driver.
Mm.
What happened to Sergio Seticara? Because he was the.
Still on the McLaren
Is he
program.
still on the McLaren?
I believe
radar?
So I don't actually know what he's doing race-wise.
But he's one of those though, isn't he? Him. He's one of those ones where you think he's not
There's a career for him somewhere.
not Formula One.
Yeah.
Good racing driver name.
He is. It's a strong name.
Keeper of Chaos, do you any of you check the Gmail account? Yeah, it's usually me. I've been a bit lax the last few days because I've been busy, and I can't check it right this minute because I'm using my tablet for this, and my phone is getting some files dumped onto it.
I think we're nearly there.
Ah, cool. That doesn't sound like Dr. Marco to drop someone so quickly. No, everywhere he goes, he's got the swivel chair and the white fluffy cat on his lap.
Who is on the Red Bull junior team now?
This week, I mean, don't forget that don't update it out of office hours. So what you'll have there is a Red Bull junior team as of 5 o'clock. It
Oh,
may
they've
have
acquired
changed.
another one I've never heard of.
God.
So yeah, they've got Yuri Vips, Jack Doohan, Dennis Hauer, Johnny Edgar, Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda, J.M. Darubala, and newly appointed Jack Crawford. Who the fuck is this?
Nope.
He is apparently doing Italian F4.
Is he?
do we know if Italian F4? Charles Leclerc, I think, not Charles Leclerc, the other Leclerc. Arthur Leclerc. He's meant to be an Italian F4 as well. I think.
That'd be exciting if like some sort of Italian racing series, the whole idea behind it was you raced for a vaccine.
Oh, good lord, he's
Could be
14.
called Race for Your Life.
This meat grinder guy is 14 apparently.
Oh Jesus. No, that's copied. I'll be able to grab those off my phone later. There you go. Thank you very much. Right, you can bin that.
Ooh, also in Italian F4, here's one to keep an eye on, Sebastian Montoya with Colombian flag. Do we think that's probably a relative?
Oh, it's gotta be.
I've got a funny feeling that Montoya might be like a Smith in Colombia
You
though. Yeah.
Yeah, but how many Smiths are raced in F1?
It's true.
Sure, if Sean was about, he'd tell us.
I like Juan Pablo.
Best driver ever to win a world title.
Given the fact my email was ignored, all right, we just said we haven't checked it. Keep your hair on.
Can't
Keep-
be ignored if we don't know it exists.
Keeper of chaos.
Right, look, this is me. I am going into my phone. I am tapping.
Keeper of your fucking knickers in order.
Sebastian Montoya is child of Juan Pablo. He is 14.
Child of Juan Pablo.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's an exciting one. Keep an eye on him.
Oh well. Keeper
Right.
of Chaos. When did you send the email? Because I've got nothing here.
Is there
Is he a spam? Has he gone into the spam?
is there any other proper questions before we go to sleep together?
I feel like we are just
Right,
thinking
I
out
found
loud.
I'm going to take this as a no, regardless of the
Merkman says, I'm not on the Red Bull Junior team. Give it time. You will be at
keeper
some
of
point.
Keeper of Chaos. I'm testing you guys. You're fucking testing my
Just
patience.
teasing.
Oh, I thought you said testing. You're teasing my patience.
Also, by the way, it's a personal email. Well, that's
We won't read it out on here.
yeah, that's great. But what's your name? 'Cause I've got no emails from the keeper of chaos.
Oh, fuck. Now I've ripped you. I hope it's not fucking bad. I hope there's not something like terrible happened to you in your life and you just wanted to say thank you for all that we're doing. Otherwise, I'll feel like fine.
They should know better than to come to you for
I'll
like
just
empathy.
feel normal.
Oh.
No, nobody knows anything about fucking water heaters. I'm terribly sorry. There is no plumbers in this room. You're on YouTube, where literally the knowledge of the world lives.
Last time I had to look up a plumbing thing, I did it on YouTube. That's where I learn all my life skills from.
When my car broke down, I watched YouTube videos and then
Yes.
proceeded to take my engine apart.
Yes, I've done that.
Lee's dyslexia again. It is. She's a bastard. She is. She's a fickle mistress.
Keeper of chaos. Can't find the email. Send it again. I don't know why it didn't get through.
I love you too, Keeper of Chaos. Anyone that's got chaos in their name, of course I'm going to love them.
Right, I think it's getting to that point where it's time to go home.
Yes.
Not as much as you clearly love Alonso. Yeah, this is true. I have a soft spot in my heart for that Spaniard. Yeah, should we go sleep?
Probably should.
So I'm tired. Thanks people, thanks for hanging around, speaking to us, thanks for watching us live. I've noticed...
Why have we got 3 extra viewers since we actually finished the podcast?
It's because of this quality band.
Oh, it could be the 3 of us actually.
Because this is
That's
the best
true.
bit.
That's true. Oh, it's go.
I've also
Oh god, it's late.
going to have to point this out again, you bunch of cunts. There's 40 people watching now and 6 thumbs ups. So watch your fucking game.
Like, subscribe, and ring that bell.
Yeah. Right down here. Don't forget to click the bell. Leave a comment. I'm your boy.
Press stop.
Quality,
Yeah.
quality YouTube bants, that innit? Right, see you later, guys.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Cheers for joining us. We'll be back next week.